talk to you about drywall. Drywall is what we use to cover the interiors of houses, commercial buildings, schools, hospitals, whatever it may be. It's the modern day surface as opposed to the plaster of yesteryear. So what is drywall? It's a product made of gypsum. Gypsum is the main ingredient. Gypsum is a material mined out of the ground. It's also a byproduct of certain manufacturing processes. So as you can see, it is gypsum pressed between two layers of paper. There is one layer of paper that has a priming quality about it that lets paint stick to it. And the back side of the drywall is just a brown rough paper. They need the two sides of paper to this product to give it strength. If they didn't have paper on one side, it would easily crumble and break. So drywall comes in a variety of thicknesses. Now first off, common size sheets would be 4 feet wide, and you can get them in lengths of 8 feet or 12 feet. You could also have drywall, if you have a large enough quantity that you order, be cut to the exact length that you want. So for example, if you were putting drywall straight up and down in offices, which is the way drywall is commonly installed, you could order 9'6" tall sheets and set your ceiling at 9'4", and that would bring your ceiling 2 inches below the top of your drywall, so you wouldn't have a seam to deal with up there. Thickness of drywall. The thicknesses range anywhere from 1/4 inch to 5/8. 1/4 inch is typically used to resurface an existing wall. Perhaps a wall has been previously paneled, or maybe the surface is too rough to finish, so you would apply a thin layer of 1/4 inch drywall. 1/2 inch is the most common size drywall, and this is it here. In residential, that's typically what we're using on the walls, is 1/2 inch drywall. It could also be used on the ceilings. I myself go to thicker drywall when our ceiling joists or rafters are set at 2 foot on center, because I don't want to risk the drywall dipping between the places that it is attached. I did say 5/8 in residential, but the code also calls for 5/8 fireboard, type X fireboard, to be installed on the ceilings of garages, on the walls of garages, the whole envelope of the garage, to keep fire from spreading from the garage to the living part of the house. Furnace rooms are also a great place to put type X fire retardant drywall. In commercial or industrial projects, 5/8 drywall is the only product you're allowed to use because of its fire rating and its rigidity. Now I have a sheet of drywall standing here against the wall. This is typically how you stack drywall on a job, standing upright, leaned against the wall, and installers work right off the pile like this. What I wanted to show you with this sheet of drywall was that through the manufacturing process, when we look down the 4 foot width of the sheet, these edges here are pressed in, and this is called the tapered edge. So this end and this end of the sheet, I should say the two sides of the sheet, have the tapered edge. In the very ends, this end and 12 feet down the line on the other end of this sheet is what we call a butt cut. So it's a straight off cut piece of drywall, but there's no taper to this drywall on the butt cut. The taper is only on the 4 foot edges. So when we're installing drywall, it's nice to put the tapered edges together. And you can kind of see in the light here how there's a line going across here and there's a line going across here. And you can kind of pick up with your eyes that tapered look that's happening. And what that does, and if I put the square up against here, you'll see that that leaves a gap, and that'll let the drywall finisher actually fill in between the sheets to make a smooth, straight surface. Where we have the ends of the sheets come together, we have what is called a butt joint because we have the two butt ends come together. They don't have a tapered end, so there's nothing to fill. So that mud will actually have to be spread out over a much wider area. So that's the difference between the two edges of a sheet of drywall. So I went over the basics of drywall, how it's made with gypsum and covered with paper, but there are other types of drywall. We said the type X for fire. But if you look in here in our bathroom, we have this board that's purple in color. This is what is called MR board. It stands for moisture resistant. It's also mold resistant, and we put that in areas where we expect to have either high humidity or areas that may be getting splashed. Now understand, this isn't made for complete immersion in water, but it is made that it can get wet once in a while. So I use it in places like this is going to be behind the sink in the bathroom. Our toilet will be right here, so we just want to keep the moisture to a minimum. Also, above the shower, I put it around the top of the shower. Now this area up here is not going to be wet, but you will have the humidity from the shower building up around that. This product that's on the walls in the shower is not meant to be painted. It's not the finished product. What it actually is a backer for the ceramic towel that's going to go onto here. The nice thing about this product is that you can take a sheet of this, totally immerse it in water, let it sit there for weeks, months, years, doesn't matter. When you pull it out, the only thing that's going to be wet about it is the surface. Let it sit in the sun for a few minutes and you have a dry product. You see, the water is never able to soak through this. And this is what we want for our shower. There's a couple manufacturers that make this, but it's all intended for the same purpose as to put towel over top. Now, completely waterproof except for the joints, corners, any of the seams that we have. Now there is a process to waterproof that, but we'll talk about that in another video. But I wanted to show you this product. It comes in 1/4 inch thick sheets, 1/2 inch sheets, or 5/8 sheets. Typically you'll buy this in 3 foot by 5 foot sheets because they work very well around a bathtub. You can also order it in 4 by 8 sheets just like plywood or drywall comes. So that's the drywall sheets themselves. Now what material do we use to attach? Well, you could use drywall nails. This is the old way of doing it. The industry's gotten away from using the drywall nails simply because they pull out, they take longer to install, and the building code also requires you to put more fasteners when you're using nails. The drywall screw is the most popular means of fastening drywall today. It's faster and stronger than using nails. And it also has the ability to be easily removed in case you have a mistake that needs to be fixed. But along with the drywall screws, it's recommended that we use an adhesive made for drywall. So this particular company makes this drywall adhesive, and we read on there, it says it reduces fastener use up to 50%. So it means that we can use about half as many screws as we would if we were to use no adhesive at all. The adhesive also keeps the drywall from flexing on a gap between the drywall and the stud and keeps it from sliding and causing the nail head to pop. When we put the mud over the nail head or screw head, it's attached to the drywall, but if that drywall were to push in, if someone were to lean against it, it would pop that off. And that's a common problem that we have with drywall. So adhesive takes care of that. Adhesive also keeps some draft from coming in.
This is Cammy Carl's video diary number 52. Eric has finally moved away for a little bit, and I can secretly record. He's making me crazy.
Now today we're covering different products associated with drywall. But I also wanted to get into the finishing part of it because the job isn't complete until the walls are painted and we're out of there. So what's it take to get drywall from looking like a piece of drywall to a finished wall? Well, it also includes drywall mud, which comes in 5-gallon buckets, and there's different types of that. And we'll go over that in another video series when we do the finishing. Also, paper tape is required. And various corner beads and accessories are also used for the installation of drywall to get that finished look onto a wall. So I hope you learned something today about wallboard, drywall, cement board, and the different types of fasteners we use. So with that, this is Mr. Carlini saying, have a good day as you work.
That's a total remake. That looked like shit.